In a video I did a little while ago, I mentioned the Flintstones. That video was about the original animated cartoon, Hanna-Barbera Presents the Flintstones. And in that video I mentioned this movie, Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. I had never seen this until just now. I gotta say, I was not expecting this to be very good at all. I was never really a big fan of the first live-action Flintstones film, and I saw some still shots of this. I was kind of like, man, I don't really need to see that. But, since doing that other video, I was curious, and I really did want to know a little bit more about the Flintstones. I saw this on the thrift store shelf, and I decided to take a shot. So, here we go. Now, the Flintstones, Viva Rock Vegas, is a 2000 film. It stars Mark Addy as Fred Flintstone. Mark Addy, I'm more familiar with him as King Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones. Wilma Flintstone is played by Kristen Johnson. Now, you remember her from Third Rock from the Sun, lots of other TV comedy as well. And also notable as being one of the models in Austin Powers. Barney Rubble is portrayed by Stephen Baldwin, who I must admit I have probably seen a million Stephen Baldwin movies, but I don't remember any of them. But he's actually pretty good as Barney Rubble. I think he does an adequate job. Yeah, and as Betty we get Jane Krakowski. I don't know too much of her work. Probably a lot of stuff that I should be familiar with. I just know that I've seen her around. Everybody is a totally fine actor in here. Problem is, they're all kind of B-tier actors. I don't think that's a problem for me. It's just, in terms of like marketing this movie, people were like, well, we don't have those A-list stars as the Flintstones anymore, so why would we go see this? So I don't think it did very well financially, which is really weird because it's actually a better movie. I mean, it has a better story than the first one. It is actually like a prequel of the Flintstones animated show. This is the story of how Fred and Barney and Wilma and Betty, how they all met, and how those two couples like fell in love and that sort of thing. We even get the origin of Dino, the dinosaur, in here. But yeah, it features, of course, our Flintstones in Stone Age hijinks. Like, of course, they drive the manual cars where they basically have to use their feet to pedal along and get around where they're going, and they can go remarkably fast in those cars. Caveman leg muscles must have been huge. We get a little bit more of those animal gags that you always saw in the Flintstones cartoon, where there'd be like, the vacuum cleaner was a mammoth, and record player was a bird, and that kind of stuff, and the lawnmower was a dinosaur strapped to a stick or whatever. A little bit less puppetry and a little bit more CGI in this, which, I don't know, is that good or bad? It's not bad. I mean, the animation is like obviously animation, but it looks pretty neat, and it just has the Flintstones tone to it, and I think it works here. We get a few side characters too, other big name actors. We do get a couple. Those big names being Joan Collins as Wilma's mother, Wilma's rich mother, and she's good. She plays the role pretty well. Then you get, as Wilma's dad, you get Harvey Korman. Now, Harvey Korman in the first Flintstones movie played the voice of the bird. There was a bird that was involved in some legal case, and he had all the evidence. This bird overheard secrets that he wasn't supposed to hear or whatever. Anyway, Harvey Korman played that bird in the first one. In this one, he plays Wilma's dad, and he's like a senile old guy. And also, Harvey Korman is known for the original Flintstones animated series as the Great Gazoo. It's funny that Harvey Korman's in this movie, but he doesn't play the Great Gazoo, who is actually in this movie. So I would have personally said, hey, Harvey, do you want to do the Great Gazoo? The Gazoo, however, is played by Alan Cumming. Alan Cumming, I recognize him as Nightcrawler from X2. Also from Spy Kids franchise, where he plays Floop, Fagin Floop, I think is his name. Yes, I've seen Spy Kids, and the movies are not that bad. But yeah, he plays the Great Gazoo in here, and the Great Gazoo is a little different. I like how they expanded his character a little bit. It's not as helpful, for one thing, but he's, same thing, only Barney and Fred can see him, and he, makes things happen, or, he has some magical powers to help them out here and there. I don't know, it made me laugh when I was a kid and I saw the Flintstones, and it made me laugh here, so good job. There's one other notable actor in here, notable for me anyway, a guy that I recognize from one of my wife's favorite TV shows, a show called Criminal Minds. Thomas Gibson is in this. Now, he's pretty serious, pretty straight-laced on that show, on Criminal Minds, but in here he plays a very charismatic, rich, money-grubbing villain. Yeah, it's just a nice contrast from the more wooden character that he portrays as an FBI agent on Criminal Minds. Now, I don't want to get too heavily into the plot, but I gotta say that this is a little different than the original Flintstones movie. Really, instead of Fred being the protagonist in this Flintstones movie, I think Wilma is more the main character here. Now, Wilma, it's revealed in this movie, before she ever met Fred or anything like that, she was super, super rich. And her family was super rich, and she kind of wanted to get away from all that and just go mingle with the regular people. She didn't like the shallow, heartless nature of really ultra-rich people. So there's, she has a character arc. And I guess so do Fred and Barney and Betty, and we get to see how Barney and Betty met and fell in love, and it takes place in 2 seconds. And we get to see how Fred and Wilma got together, and the whole thing ends up in Rock Vegas. But it's not like the whole thing takes place there. It's kind of fun, there's a lot of visual gags and that sort of thing. Overall, I think that sums up the movie pretty well. It's kind of fun. It's not overly long, like this review probably is. Definitely doesn't take itself very seriously. The actors are all fine here. They're given funny lines to say, and I think everybody delivers it pretty well. It just works. So overall, I think, Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas, I'm going to give it a B-. Minus because of some of those little nitpicky things. I was surprised that I liked this as much as I did. I mean, if you saw the first Flintstones live-action movie and you haven't seen this, then you should see this, because I think it's just this much better than that original one. Basically, if you like the Flintstones, I think you'd like this. It does them justice. Doesn't, drag their name through the mud too much or anything like that. I think it's fine. So until next time, have a yabba dabba do time, everybody.